Good morning, everyone. I'm delighted to be here. My name is Gavin Starks. I'm the CEO of the Open Data Institute. We are a startup. We are 5 months old. So I'm going to give you a quick tour of some of the trends that we see and some of the things that we've done over the last 5 months. I just want to start with a little bit of history from one of our co-founders, Sir Tim Berners-Lee, whose original paper in the late 80s was noted as being vague but exciting. And how do we reflect on that these decades later? We've almost worked out what the web's for, but it's taken us quite a long time. And I actually think that we are at a similarly exciting stage, as was mentioned, as we were in the mid-90s, is that we're right on the cusp of a new wave of innovation. The difference is manifold, actually. One of them differences that I've noticed is that rather than just being a grassroots engineering-led initiative, open data has been growing for decades as well. It's now a top-down political imperative. We've had governments around the world back the concept of open data as part of good governance, as part of transparency. And this is a truly global phenomenon. It's not just limited to the West. It is something that we've seen everywhere. And around the world, dozens of countries and hundreds of regions and cities are releasing public open data. This is, as has been mentioned, the fuel that we aim to use, but we have quite a lot of things to do before we get there. But what's the point of all of this? Well, for me, open data will help us address some of the greatest challenges of our time. We face unparalleled challenges in our society, population growth, in our environment, in climate change, in our economy, in creating sustainable ecosystems. And the big difference really between the mid-90s and now is we've already done the plumbing. We already have ubiquitous broadband. We already have 1 billion devices that are web-enabled. So as we bring this new resource to market, the scale and the pace of change will be unlike the early 90s and the early 2000s, because the pace of change can be managed by anyone. You can buy supercomputing by the minute. Storage is effectively free. These are really significant changes. The commoditization of the compute space, the cloud enables this, and as has been mentioned, the cost of this will just continue to go down. So that opens up an entirely new way of doing business. And I'm often asked, what are good examples of open data successes? Well, the web is quite a good example of an open data success. We wouldn't be standing here if it wasn't for the web. And that has led to companies like Google. Google would not exist if it was not for open data. So we have some good examples, but when we look at this as a raw material, it's not just about rebroadcasting data. It is about the combinatorial effects. How do we build new use cases? How do we combine the energy information with the transport information, with the health information, with purchasing, with spend, with national energy infrastructure, with resource flows? We also need to build credibility into the data as it flows, and this is really critical. If we're going to base all our decisions on data, whose data? Whose code? Who do we trust? So when we look at what is open data, from our perspective, we're looking at data that is addressable. It has to have a URL. We have to be able to find it. It has to be structured and machine readable. It's not good enough just to have a data silo where an individual has to individually give their energy data to a third party to do something with. They have to be structured and addressable in a machine readable way. It also has to be licensed. So this is really, really critical. We have to have an open licensing framework. There are moves around this around the world. In the UK, we have the Open Government License, which is now the de facto standard. You have to opt out of using the Open Government License if you're a public sector organization. And you have to have some kind of continuity of supply. This is really mandatory. If a company or a startup is going to invest in any form of innovation, they have to know that the information is going to be maintained. There are hundreds of benefits for releasing data as open data. There are internal benefits in terms of improving the utility of the information itself, There are external benefits, and people will actually help you improve the quality of your own data. And there are many use cases around that. I want to speak about one use case which we identified in the first few weeks of our existence. We brought together experts in the healthcare sector. We brought together a big data analytics company and communications experts. In the UK, the prescriptions information has been being made available as open data for the last year. This is the name of the drug being prescribed, its cost, and where in the country it's being prescribed. So not the patient details, most importantly. So it's not personal data. By analysing the 35 million rows of data, and it took about 6 to 8 weeks, the team looked at removing all of the clinical exceptions around one drug class of statins, and what would the impact be of switching from on-patent to off-patent generic drugs. Difference in price: the on-patent is £20, the off-patent is 70 pence. If you did that at scale, what would the impact be? And the impact in this instance would be more than £200 million saving per annum on one drug class, with no clinical difference and nobody losing their job. That's a very large number for a very short and very cost-effective piece of data analysis. But that's the beginning of a journey. We then worked with the media to get pieces into The Economist, into the Financial Times, into the national press, so that there was a positive collaborative story to tell around this. And we're now working with the people involved to help build a software as a service solution for the health service, because we believe this can be applied to maybe a dozen different drug classes. There may be £1 billion saving per annum across the UK. At a time when the health service wants to try and save £10 billion, I think this is quite timely. In terms of our leadership team, just to give you a quick overview of the ODI, we have Sir Tim Berners-Lee and Professor Nigel Shadbolt as our co-founders. Jenny Tennyson, I just draw attention to as a world leader in open data and linked data, and helping to create the DataGov UK platform and Legislation Gov UK, which is one of the best examples of linked data and open data in the world right now. I'd encourage you to have a look at. I just want to reflect on one of the first things that we did at the ODI. With many stakeholders, we're a non-profit, private company, part funded by government, part funded by the private sector. Many different stakeholders. So the first thing that we did was we launched a data-driven art commission. And the theme of that commission was data as culture. And this is a really significant and important point for us. We see data as culture as the emerging phenomena here. We had 89 responses in 2 weeks from over 20 countries to our call. And we now have 9 data-driven artworks spread around our offices, and only one of them is screen-based. The others are all kinetic, bringing data from the web back into our space in real time. So our mission, catalyzing the evolution of open data culture, and we're trying to generate value here, not just economic value, but environmental value and social value. We're working on standards and research, we're providing training, we're bringing together world experts to try and create a new primary industry. And I don't say that lightly. I really see this as equivalent to the beginnings of the web. We probably have many decades ahead of us of exploration and experimentation. It's extremely exciting. But our remit here is to try and unlock supply from both the public sector and from the private sector. To unlock demand, we also incubate companies to help them identify savings and innovation, as I was just describing. We don't really get caught up in the linguistic thing, whether it's big data or medium-sized data or small data or gigantic data, as somebody said to me the other day. We're looking at what is meaningful insight that can be derived from open access to information. And as I said, if we can't get more and more information out into the marketplace from both the public and private sector, then we're going to be doing ourselves a disservice, because we will miss the kinds of insight that the other speakers have been describing. We've got 5 startups in situ already. That number will double in the next 2 months. They're already generating revenues. We've got one company who's just closed its second 6-figure contract one has raised £250,000 venture capital. That's in the last 3 months. Ourselves, we've raised significant funds. We've also unlocked funds to help startups in the UK, but we're also expanding internationally, and we're working with the World Bank to help train the world's political leaders and national leaders. We've got a 2-year program to help countries create their own open data strategies, and we're actively looking to engage with the international community. We provide consultation responses back into government. We've also just launched a private corporate membership model, and we actually now have 12 members signed up to that, who are private companies looking to open up their own data. Virgin Media was the first large corporate to sign up, and they want to open up their information. They have assets in data that they don't know how to exploit. So they're going to open them up to the community as open data and let other people innovate around that. What I'm trying to reflect here is that this is a global movement. This is a global initiative, and the timing is very much now. We have support from many governments. We have support from developer communities and from private sector and from academia. Just to finish off, there's one call to action I'd like to leave you with. We are developing, in order to help catalyze this space, we're developing an open data certification scheme that we're actively looking for people to engage with. This is all open source on the web as well. But we're looking to expand effectively Sir Tim's 5-star rating system for data, open data quality, into a much more codified realm. And we'll be launching this in the next couple of months. So please get in touch with us if you are interested in that. Thank you very much.